Dr. Swaroop Savnur is one of our celebrity mental conditioning coaches of India. A brief work profile of his, but before that I'll just give you the different qualifications he has. He's a diploma in EEG and brain conditioning from Switzerland. He's a master's in psychology. He's got an MDS in ortho from KLE Dental Belgaum. He's a certificate of science of young athletic development from University of Florida. And he's in exclusive mental conditioning and mental training for elite athletes since 2001. He's been associated with the Punjab Kings IPL team since 2001, 21 and 22, I beg your pardon. BCCI's National Cricket Academy with 18 plus high performance camps which he's performed for India A, emerging and under 23, under 19 at NCA. He's been associated with the Indian football national team for FIFA under 17 World Cup of 2017. He's a director of peak performance for Vidarbha Women's Cricket 2023 and the lead consultant for the Army Sports Institute, which is India's premier Olympic institute to maximize potential of India's boxers, wrestlers, archery, weightlifters, diving and athletics. He is training Olympic, Asian and Commonwealth athletes, including many of India's top 10 for multiple Olympic disciplines. He has helped 11 elite athletes win medals for the country at Commonwealth and Asian Games, including one athlete who has become the world #1 in badminton, India's first ever. He's with the Vidarbha Ranji cricket team from 2013 to 16, along with the under 19, under 23 men's teams, with elite senior and teen athletes for tennis, golf, badminton and other sports. He's got 15 plus tours for Ranji, under 23, under 19, with both men's and women's cricket teams. He's the founder of My Mental Coach, India's premier mental training company for athletes, students and professionals. And last but not the least, you can make him sing a damn good song.
Namaste and good afternoon, everyone. Really such a pleasure to be here after so many years. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Anup, a close friend of mine, my batchmate in my orthodontic days, for inviting me here for such a good concept, right? Small 10 to 15 minute talks. We hear TED Talks so much. I think so there is a merit in having more such talks so that people can learn not just orthodontics, but something even more than that. Great initiative. But today, of course, I have come here not as an orthodontist. I have come here as a mental conditioning and a peak performance coach. Although I was listening to the talk that was happening before, and I thought suddenly that there's something in common actually. They were talking about aligning the teeth, I'm talking about aligning the mind, isn't it? So probably there is some similarity. So today I feel that we are in the era of peak performance. Actually, if you think about it, because sometimes we actually don't reflect on what's happening to our life today. For the first time in the history of a civilization, a majority of people today have already got the Maslow's needs already met. The basic security, financial wealth, housing, food, all these are met. And because of technology, we have now got a smartphone, irrespective of whether you are a poor person or a rich person. Learning is something that has become, the world is flat in terms of learning, isn't it? And that's a huge change. You no longer have to go to a university, pay, you can do it at in the palm of your hand. Communication is amazing. But at the same time, think about this. As these things are happening, wouldn't you agree that the more we are having communicative devices, the more we are getting isolated as a species? The more we have got artificial intelligence coming to us, the more our natural intelligence is getting threatened. And in a way, I feel that it's a very fascinating time in our life. And therefore, rather than putting a statement, what I would like to do is to put an argument in front of you. for you to introspect and let's see what you think about this in your own mental space. And the argument that I want to put across is, what do we really mean by peak performance? Because we can clearly argue that all the people over here are peak performers. There is no doubt. Everybody has done so much in their life, struggled, fought, succeeded, and gone to the next level of whatever they are doing in their life. Me being in the field of sports, I see this every day, day in, day out. Fascinating talent at the age of 17 and 18 years, whom everybody can bet on, can surely reach the international stage. But so many of these athletes, probably by the age of 23 and 24, have not even gone to the national level, forget the international level. So what is it that would be stopping them, isn't it? Because talent is surely not the reason, skill is not the reason, resources are not the reason, opportunity is not the reason. So what is the reason? What is it that prevents them and probably all of us to remain to a certain limit, and we go there fast? Sachin Tendulkar went fast, directly went into the Indian team at the age of 16 years, but others couldn't. Others had to go through those barriers. But many of them, although more talented than Sachin, were at the state level, were at the national level, or couldn't even cross through Ranji. So what is it that's stopping them is the question. Ask yourself this question today. Is something in your life stopping you from achieving what you feel is your greatest success quotient? Not just in your profession probably, but also in your life. And that's the question with which we are going to talk about the 10 mantras of achieving peak performance. Now, why mantra? Why not principles? I think so that's a very important question to ask. What is a mantra, isn't it? And mantra is something that is so ingrained in our philosophy, isn't it, as a India, as a country. Om Bhurbhuvasvat Tat Savitur Varenyam. What does it really mean? They can be just Sanskrit words. But no, there is a power. There is a lot of thought behind those 5 or 10 verses, isn't it? There is a lot of emotion. There is a lot of essence that is built into those words that give us a different kind of energy, a different kind of meaning, a different kind of approach, and a different kind of a thought process with which to look alive. And therefore, I feel today we don't need principles in our life. We need mantras in our life. We need to know what are the things that we can remind ourselves of every day, just like we do a mantra, so that we can keep going towards that peak performance that we are trying to say. And therefore, I'm going to start with the 10th mantra in mind. And every mantra, 10th word is going to be 10 words. And the first is, consistent mindset with a clear process leads to holistic success. Let's split it up quickly. Consistent mindset, but with a clear process. Many a times, we look at mindset not from a consistent factor. Because one day, I wake up, I feel good about myself, and I do a great job. But many a days, I am not able to do that. I do it once a week, I do it twice a week, and I don't realize how I'm taking it down, how I'm taking my potential down. But why does that happen? Because it's very difficult to control our mind. Because mind right now, the audience that is there in front of me, I can bet 70% of the people over here are having their thoughts with them, coming towards me, then going back, then shifting ahead, then visualizing something, again coming towards me. See the way your mind shifts just even in this 20 seconds that we are talking to each other. And we aren't even aware of it, isn't it? And that's the fascinating aspect of mind. It's so difficult to make it consistent. And therefore, unless we have a process by which we are able to control our mind, we will not be able to control it. Just as a player needs to have that forehand the way he needs to, a Djokovic and a Federer's forehand is going to be different. But both will have to hit down to up. The principles of forehand will not change. The individual may make that small change, isn't it? So a consistent mindset with a clear process is the key. But to make a consistent mindset, I need to start somewhere. But I need to start on that daily basis, isn't it? So the 9th mantra that I would look to propose is focus on daily success. But how do I focus on daily success? What does daily success mean? Ask yourself this question. Does daily success mean that, okay, for the next 5 days, in that week, I'm going to sleep at 10:30 or 11 because I want to get fresh and get up early the next day to go about my fitness goals. But when you have got your mobile in your pocket, sometimes you're not going to be able to do that, isn't it? And it is these simple practical things that make you go away from your daily goals. And that is the reason you can't be consistent. So how do we focus on our consistent goals? If you decide today, okay, I want to make that change happen in my life. I want to really be successful on a daily basis. The question is, how can I do that? And the step number one, friends, I feel, is always self-awareness. Every day we look in the mirror, right? We look at ourselves, how we are looking. We comb our hair. We always give ourselves a time to scan ourselves. We don't do that? We scan ourselves, right? We scan ourselves on a physical level. But why can't we scan ourselves on a mental level? Why can't we scan ourselves on an emotional level? Why can't we look at ourselves and tell us, what are the thoughts and emotions today that are probably troubling me? It's very difficult to do that. And therefore, unless we have a process to start the self-awareness journey, it's going to be very difficult for you to improve. And when you look at self-awareness as a thought, you will realize this seventh mantra is actually the transition between thinking about it and doing something about it. I'm sure so many of you must have thought about doing something. Let us say many of you must have thought, I want to invest money in the stock market. But you know what? There is a risk. There is a reward and there is a risk. How do I really make up my mind to go towards that fear of losing money is the question. And imagine this one thing, if you're stopping from doing, in today's India's greatest growth story, when else are you going to invest in the stock market? Right? But at the same time, ask yourself this question, which are those thoughts that would be troubling me? What is that fear? And believe me, the fear always starts with that one word that we say, right? Failure. We don't want to fail. The biggest difference that I see between sports and the corporate world is this. In sports, athletes are used to failure. Athletes are used to failure. In our normal life, we don't actually fail much. We don't want to also fail much. So it's very easy to say failures are the pillars of success, but it's very difficult to actually be a failure in life. So how do you look at failure? How do you go towards the fear is what is the critical component for you to actually manage that fear. But once you decide to conquer fear, there are other factors that come into play. And the biggest factor that I feel that stops people is by comparing ourselves with what our other people are doing. Right? And the mantra which I feel is very powerful is do not compare yourself with others. Because every person truly has a different journey. Every person truly has a different meaning to their life they are leading. And it cannot be connected to what the other person is doing. So this is something, especially when it comes to material wealth, is what we see this impacting us and therefore impacting our decisions. And beyond when you go towards it, you go to the fifth mantra. And okay, if you decide to do something about it, discipline is the required for achievement. But what kind of discipline? There is a book by Robin Sharma, you know. He said that it's very easy to mind the children, but who is going to mind yourself? Adults are nothing but deteriorated children. Right? Who is going to mind ourselves? We have to do that. So today's critical skill, I feel, that we need to develop as adults is self-discipline. What can I do to discipline myself on a daily basis so that I can do what I need to do every day to go towards the goal that I want to achieve? But for doing that, is it comfortable? No, it's very uncomfortable, isn't it? It's very uncomfortable to do that every day because your mind is going to push you away from exactly what you want to do. That is why in Gita it is written, right? Your mind can be your best friend and your worst enemy. It's written 15,000 years ago. And therefore, if you want to push your mind, you need to understand that you need to be uncomfortable. You need to face those uncomfortable situations. On the third part is your real wealth. And what do we mean by wealth? Today we are in a generation where wealth is there. But I feel wealth is asking the right questions to ourselves about what do you want to do in your life. It is your search for your own truth that you want to achieve in your life. Because that truth is what you want to really do in your life. And when you do that, You go towards your own personality. You become yourself. Again, in the Gita, it is written, you are an extension of your personality, nothing beyond that. And your search for truth is an extension of your personality. So as long as you connect to your personality, you will always find the answers to your challenges that you're going to face. And finally, it is about living. Today, the concept of living has changed. I always look at living from a very amazing factor. We want happiness, right? But happiness has got different connotations. Happiness can be happiness because of having money, buying a bigger car, buying a bigger, vehicle. But from beyond happiness is pleasure. Today we are a pleasure-seeking society. We want to go somewhere else. We want to go click selfies. We want to go binge, watch so many things. Why? What is the reason? It is for pleasure. It is for getting that dopamine kick that every day we want to elicit in our minds. But I feel, friends, the real thing, the real key is bliss. In yoga, it is called as samadhi. Dharana, dhyan and samadhi. Where you are at peace with yourself. There is so much of a greater joy with what you're doing. And that, in a way, I feel, is peak performance. But the beauty of this peak performance is that each and every of these steps is required for peak performance. Because it is like playing cards. Even if one card goes, the whole thing collapses. And that is the beauty of peak performance. And that is why it is difficult. Because you cannot have something unless you bind something with each other. And what is that binding force? That binding force is inspiration. You need to be inspired. You need that inspiration, that drive is going to push you towards these 10 mantras, to push you to be uncomfortable, to push you to seek the truth, to push you to do the things that you really want to do. For me, it was my inspiration. What was my inspiration? 20 years back, when that article came in the Times of India, if we can't win at sports, we can't win wars. That article has changed my life. A second inspiration happened for me when a poor boy knocked on the door and I kicked him away. That led me to write a story, and today I'm also a filmmaker, writer and director. And I feel that these inspirational moments are something that you need to absolutely take yourself and grab those inspirational moments. And when you do that, you will start looking at these 10 mantras in a very different way. Finally, I feel that peak performance is within your reach. With the right intent and drive, and with the right process, you can achieve beyond what you can imagine. And I hope you start that journey, because peak performance is never a destination, but it is only a process that you'll have to go, and it's the path that you take that's going to lead you to holistic success. Thank you very much. I'm sorry if I got 2 minutes late.